Alhamdulillah wahdah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah, amma ba'd. A few weeks ago, we started with the introduction to Sahih al-Bukhari of Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayh. And then the plan was to do this session once a month. There's been some delay because we had few tajweed lessons and few fiqh lessons in between. But inshallah ta'ala, we try to see if we could get at least 1 to 2 sessions per month on Sahih al-Bukhari as well. So before we go on to the book, it is the adab and respect and the tradition that one needs to know about the author, the person who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed with this title of being Amirul Mu'minina fil Hadith. There are only a handful of Imams of the past who are considered to be the leader of believers with regards to Hadith. And Imam Bukhari is the crown of all of those Imams. With regards to Hadith, he is really above almost everyone after him. Obviously, his teachers, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, for example, is above him. But after him, everyone who ever came had to respect Imam as the teacher, as the master. And he was an Arab, by the way. That's the beauty of Islam. It doesn't matter who you are from, what is your background. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and you get the barakah of that. So let's move on to a brief overview of the life of Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi. So his full name is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ismail ibn Ibrahim ibn Mughira ibn Bardizbah ibn al-Ahnaf al-Ju'fi al-Qahtani al-Bukhari. That much. So obviously the first one is Agnomen, Kunya. Abu Abdullah means father of Abdullah. And Muhammad is his name. His actual name is Muhammad. Muhammad ibn Ismail. Ismail is the father's name, and then grandfather Ibrahim, and then Al-Mughira. Now his forefathers, when you go up, you'll find that they were from Persian descent. So they were non-Muslim, they were Zoroastrians, and then they converted to Islam. And he was born on a Friday, mashallah, and straight after Friday prayer. And when we go through his last day, when he departed the world, that was the Eid day, Eid al-Fitr day, in the morning of Eid al-Fitr. So blessed day of birth and blessed day of passing away. And this is 21st of July, 810 Common Era, which is 13th of Shawwal, 194 after Hijrah. And 1st of Shawwal, he passed away. Obviously, in 256 subsequently. This is his place, Bukhara, which is in Khurasan, the greater Khurasan that was the kingdom then, which is current day Uzbekistan. So if you look at the map, that's where Bukhara is up top. Okay. And he has traveled to different parts of the world. And we see how much he has done to achieve this level, both from hard working to acquire the knowledge, but also the piety. His father, Ibrahim ibn Ismail ibn Ibrahim, he was a scholar of hadith as well. He was a student of Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi. Abdullah ibn Mubarak, amazing Imam. He was a student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Hamad ibn Salama. So these are the great Imams that his father studied with. He passed away when Imam Bukhari was very young, very small. His great grandfather, Al-Mughira, he settled in Bukhara after accepting Islam. He became Muslim. Okay, so he became Muslim at the hand of the governor of Bukhara, whose name was Yaman al-Ju'fi. And that is why he's called Ju'fi. Because the mawalat, when someone becomes a freed slave of someone, they become mawla to each other. We are the friends, we are the companion for each other. So the freed slave then takes, it's quite common, the name of the master who freed him. Now, not master anymore because he's freed already, but the relationship remains. That's why it's called Al-Ju'fi. He wasn't from that tribe, rather he had that. So as was the custom, he became a Mawla of Yaman, and his family continued to carry the name of Nisbah, his relation, connection with Ju'f, to Al-Ju'fi. Mother took the responsibility, a very important lesson to learn. Like Imam Al-Shafi'i, like Imam Abu Yusuf, like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Bukhari, his mother, and there are many historical mothers who have raised these kids to become the Imam of the time. It is extremely important that we, as Muslim and our sisters today, take lesson from that. And they would be working behind the scenes. They are the most important people behind nurturing such kids, such children, who would then take the lead. And that is why you would not find any man who could do whatever he has done, except there was a woman or more than one woman supporting this individual to become the Imam, to excel in any science. Because they would look after the household, they would look after the children, they would nurture them, they would support them. Because that was their goal, rather than going out themselves and trying to achieve what they think they could achieve. And even if they did, it is never going to be the best. Because they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do, mostly indoors. And there's a lot they can do, and people have done it. The sisters who come, the religious Muslimah, for the last 1400 years, if you go back in history, you find muhaddithat as well. Muhaddithat are the women who narrated hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there are more than 40,000 of them. 40,000 of them who narrated hadith, means they mastered it through their teachers and imparted it to the next generation. Imam Malik's daughter, she was more knowledgeable than the brother. She's transmitted a lot of the sayings of and the hadith of Imam Malik through that chain. There were many women like that. And Imam Zahabi, rahmatullah alayhi, one of the greatest of the Imams of the past, he narrated this incident whereby Imam Bukhari had, in his childhood, about 6, 7, he lost his eyesight due to some infection, some conjunctivitis of the sort, some viral infection, illness. It was quite common. He lost his eyes. The mother was trying her best to nurture this kid and the older brother, Ahmad, this is Muhammad and that he was Ahmad, both to just excel in deen. And when Muhammad ibn Ibrahim, he lost his eyesight, she was very concerned. She would make dua in tahajjud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what I hope, that I would be able to raise my children in accordance with Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, make them a pious person. And here, my son, he got blind. How could he study? He won't be able to do anything. When she was doing it, one night she saw Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam in the dream, and she heard him saying directly to this lady, Ya Hadi, oh the lady, oh you, قد رد الله على ابنك بصره لكثرة بكائك. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has returned the eyesight of your son because of your cry in abundance, because of your constant crying and making dua for your son. Allah has returned the eyesight. This is what a mother is. A mother could do this if she was connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the eyesight was restored. She woke up and she saw Muhammad was holding onto a book and reading. Mom, I could do it. And he got the eyesight of such level with this dua and the barakah of mother and the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam support there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Ibrahim alayhi salam because Muhammad ibn Ibrahim, there's this link, just by the name, there was Ibrahim alayhi salam, prophet, that he could even read just under the moonlight. He didn't need much more light than that. He's the brightest of the eyesight, mashallah. Obviously, it's a barakah. Allah wanted him to be a role model for the ummah, someone who could then lead the ummah. Then he started learning. He started memorizing hadith. He was very young. Within few years in his life, he completed studies in Bukhara, his own city. He would go to teachers and start memorizing hadith. His memory was so sharp that when he was about 11 or something, he had 70,000 hadiths to his memory already. And not just at a very simple level, with all the chains, to the point that there was an incident about him when he was sitting with the Imam Muhaddith Dakhili, rahmatullah alayh, and Imam mentioned a hadith where he got little confused with the name of one of the narrators. Imam Bukhari said, "Ya Ustad, the chain has got some issue. This is not right. There's a bit of an issue there. It's not so and so, it's actually so and so." He didn't correct it, but he just said that there is an issue there with the chain. Because this particular narrator that you are mentioning never narrates from that individual that you are mentioning. Means there is a problem with this. The Imam Sahib Muhaddis, he ignored the young boy saying something, he just carried on. Imam Bukhari rahmatullah, ya Ustaz, please, can we just get that looked at, if you could verify it? So in those days, the teachers would normally have their own nuskha with their own collection, which they have handwritten with the teachers, and they would keep it safe. And whatever sabaq they need to do, rather than bringing the whole scroll, handwritten mushaf, they would just take the sabaq, copy it, and narrate here. And most of the time, they knew it off by heart, so they can just do off by heart, depending on how they feel comfortable, but they have to have something. So he just said it. Then the boy said it a couple of times, so he stood up and went inside to check. And lo and behold, he was right. Imam Bukhari was right at that age. He came out, Ustad, and said, "Then tell me the right person." And he corrected it. MashaAllah. Corrected. He made everyone correct it in their documentation of the hadith. But someone at the age of 11, 12 could do that much. That's the gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He memorized the scholarly books, the collection of certain scholars, including Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Kitab al-Zuhud. About Imam Waqi', he wrote something, Al-Waqi'. He started memorizing books after books. And then he started learning the biography of the Imams. So he became, those who transmitted narrations, he would memorize their life history. It is said that when he was obviously the senior, that as though he has spent time with each one of them, he knew them like this, the people who passed away. He has, as though, spent time with them, he could correct. No, it wasn't him, it was him. This is how clear he was with regards to Asma'ul Rijal. He's Imam there as well. That is why Imam Muslim, his student, he called him Ya Tabib. He was Tabib of the Ilal al-Hadith. Ya Ustad al-Ustadeen. You were the master of the teachers even. Teacher of the teachers. Da'ani uqabbilu rijlayk. Let me kiss your feet because you are someone amazing. It was bothering him, and he came to Imam. Imam just corrected it straight away, just sorted the problem out. And Imam Muslim is Imam, the only second Imam Bukhari, and he's a student. And there's very little difference between them. And yet, Imam Bukhari is Imam Bukhari. When it comes to Imam Bukhari, wow. And I mentioned the hadith, the incident about Imam Bukhari, when he compiled Sahih al-Bukhari, and he presented the collection to his teachers, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Ali bin al-Madini, and Imam Yahya, and others. So he showed his book to these teachers. And they all looked at that, and they found 2 or 3 narrations a little bit problematic. The rest is okay. Talking about the marfu'at. Obviously, in Sahih al-Bukhari, as we discussed, there are subject headings as well. There istishhad and certain hadith are brought, subject heading hadith. They are not of that level. They're just presented as a title, just as a You can say that corroborative evidence, but not at all the hadith that Imam Bukhari brought as a hadith. So the Sahih hadith with chain of narration, which he brought as the main subject, under the main subject, that hadith is all Sahih. They are all Sahih, mashallah. So from them, these Imams identified 1 or 2 or 3 hadiths. Then obviously people just carried on, just moved on. After Imam Bukhari passed away, the teachers passed away, everyone gone. Ummah, when we got everything compiled, they started looking back and assessing everything. All Ummah agreed that Imam Bukhari was right. Even with regards to his teachers' comments, they said, actually Imam Bukhari, his view is correct in this matter as well. In even those 3 or 4 hadith, Imam Bukhari's point of view was stronger, because they gathered more information and through that they could investigate it better. That is not easy. That is not something that you could acquire except through deep ikhlas and hard work. And the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with that, obviously. This is what Imam Bukhari was. So he carried on, and then he spent 2 years in Mecca. He went to perform Hajj with his mother and older brother. They came back, he said, I want to stay here to learn more with the shuyukh here. And he spent 2 years there. And he's only 16, by the way, about that age. He will spend 2 years there learning Deen from Mecca scholars and Medinan scholars. Studied fiqh, studied Islamic jurisprudence, and altogether 4 years. 2 years in Mecca, 2 years in Medina. Sorry, 4 years in Medina, 6 years altogether. Then he went to Basra, Kufa, Baghdad, Egypt, Sham, Syria. And then he said this about himself: to seek knowledge, I traveled to Egypt and Syria twice, Basra 4 times. He spent 6 years in Mecca and Medina, 6 years together, and left for Kufa and Baghdad left for Kufa and Baghdad so many times, on so many occasions, accompanied by muhaddithin. I can't even remember how many times I've been there to learn from the shuyukh and Aimma there. He traveled all these countries. As I mentioned, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Ali ibn al-Madini, Ishaq ibn Rahaway, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, these are his main teachers, who are all Imam on their own accord, independently, separately, their own school, they're greatest of the Imams of their times. MashaAllah, may Allah have barakah and rahmah upon all of them. 600,000 hadith he memorized, committed to his memory, Imam Bukhari. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, how many? 1 million. Imam is Imam. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. 1 million narration. Now, I've clarified that before as well. Were there that many ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that many saying? No, obviously not. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wouldn't speak that much. If you put them all together, roughly 10,000 statements altogether. But there is repetition. Repetition in a sense that every narrator narrated the way they wanted to narrate it. So you would find, for example, in even Sahih al-Bukhari, the first hadith, Innamal-A'malu bin-Niyat, mentioned 7 times. 7 hadith, and all 7, they are counted as 7 hadith. Why? Because the chain of narration is different, and there could be 1 or 2 small changes, even in the words sometimes. For example, Innamal-A'malu bin-Niyat, Al-A'malu bin-Niyat, Innamal-A'malu bin-Niyah, singular form, depending on how the narrator narrated it. Doesn't change the meaning, but subtle changes. Al-A'malu bin-Niyah. Okay. Amazing memory, obviously, God-gifted person from the early stage, as I mentioned. People used to initially say, why are you wasting your time not writing anything down? After 2 weeks or whatever, people started coming to him in the circles. You come to shuyukh, you don't write anything down, you're going to forget it. What's the point? You're young, maybe you're a little bit not clear on how to acquire knowledge. So Imam tried to say, inshallah. But then when they, in a way, teased him so many times or said to him so many times, he felt like, I need to clarify that. I said, okay, whatever you guys have written, sit together, read it, whatever you wrote. I would read it, you check it and let me know. about over the last 15 days, 14 days, the teacher has taught them about 15,000 narrations. And he started reciting them one after the other. Kept going on in that order. They said, my goodness. And after some of them, so 30, 40, 50 in that order, they started carry on. They started correcting their mistakes. Oh, I just got that name wrong. And rather than checking him, they started correcting themselves. Because yeah. Because if everything is fine, it must be fine, whatever he's saying. And they say, you are amazing. We never thought that someone would have that. I mean, talk about those people who had very good memory. All of them had very beautiful and brilliant memories. Not like us. But even then, so for them, Imam excels. Hashid ibn Ismail, he said, in his childhood, Imam Bukhari used to go with us to the scholars of Basra to listen to hadith. All of us used to write hadith, except Imam Bukhari. After some days, we condemned Imam Bukhari, saying that you had wasted so many days of work by not writing down the hadith. Imam Bukhari asked, okay, bring your notes. So we all brought our notes. And upon which Imam Bukhari began to read hadith one by one from the top of his head, like this from his memory, until he narrated to us about more than 15,000 hadith. Hearing these hadith, it seemed that Imam Bukhari was reteaching us all of the hadith we had noted. And as I mentioned in some narration, people started correcting them after some hadith. So that's the best chance to just verify. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him this photographic memory. So Imam Muhammad ibn Azhar, Sajistani, he said, I used to go to Sulaiman ibn Harb, accompanied by Imam Bukhari for listening to hadith. I used to write the hadith, but Imam Bukhari wouldn't. Someone said to me, why doesn't Imam Bukhari note the hadith? I told him, if you miss any hadith in writing, you could obtain it from the memory of Imam Bukhari. That was people's view about him. Then when he came to Baghdad, people heard about him, all the ideas, all the information, a lot of, your fame goes before you. So people said, let us test him. Let's see how good he is. So 10 of the best muhaddis of the time of that area, muhaddisun, they came. They sat with him and all decided to bring 10 hadith each, which is 100 hadith. And in corrupt order, wrong order. They change the narrator from here to there, bring this narration against that chain of narration. So just mixed up, top down here, whatever. And they would ask, what do you say about this, O Muhammad? And he said, La adri, don't know, la a'lam. I don't know. I never heard of this. Ma sami'at. I haven't heard of this hadith. And some of them who didn't get a clue, they said, means he doesn't even know this much. He's just getting completely, confused. And when they all completed the 100 hadith, 10 each, he then said, okay, as regards you, my friend or sheikh, when you mentioned the hadith, the first one you said it like this, but that's not right. The one I know is like this. So he would repeat the wrong one that you mentioned, and then he would correct the correct order, one by one, all of them. So people say it wasn't amazing. It wasn't a big deal. Imam Hafiz al-Hajar and others say it's not a big deal that Imam Bukhari knew all of those hadith in order because he knew 600,000 hadith. For him to correct that, that's not a problem. The beauty is this, that he actually immediately, just by listening once, could correct and could repeat what they said the first time. Other hadith, that you would try to learn the normal way anyway. But this is a wrong way. Look, he's spent his time learning all those. But to listen to your wrong way and say it immediately like this may be a possibility, but not immediately. After everyone has done their 100 of them gone, then the first one, he could relate it the way it was. That is par excellence. That is something that you don't see anywhere. Obviously in the current time, but even in the past, it is exceptional. So this is our Imam Bukhari. But it didn't come just by hard work. It comes with taqwa. It comes with piety. has to have. You have to be generous. You have to be righteous, which is fulfilling the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and refraining from any disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Following the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in every respect. You can't chop and change according to how you feel, how I like it, how the circumstances, not at all. And this is what he's done. And to stay away from material world. And there's this incident of Imam-Bukhari rahmatullah. He was once traveling, and it was a sea journey on the ship. So he was sharing the cabin with someone, and he was a businessman. So it's later in his life, he had 1,000 gold coins with him in order to spend it on others and on himself on this journey. How long he was going to be, for months and months. Doing that, he thought that if I die, this money belonged to my family as a viratha, as the inheritance. So I must confide in this man so that he can take this money and give it to my family out of concern, because you shouldn't have anything that you have to make a will, except that it shouldn't pass 3 days that you write it down. Because I can't write it down, but where would I leave my will? I can write it down, well, it has to go somewhere, isn't it, to my heirs. So he confided in that man, thinking that, well, inshallah ta'ala, help me. As soon as Imam disclosed this to this man, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped him, because these people, the righteous people, and that is true even for today. If you acquire taqwa, you become close friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, with which Allah becomes his eyes, with which he sees, with his hands, with which he holds. Not that Allah become that, saying in that way, meaning, implying that Allah help you in watching whatever you're watching. That is why Quran says, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. Oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you threw the dust, handful of dust to the enemies, it wasn't you who did it, we did it. Meaning, you did it, but we made it. We made every particle go into the eyes of these enemies, blinding them for that temporary moment so they couldn't see where they are. So Allah helps. Haath hai Allah ka banda hai mu'min ka haath. As Iqbal says, Allah becomes your supporter, help you in everything. And ittaqu firasat al-mu'minin, mu'min, be aware of the firasa, the depth, the insight of a believer. فَإِنَّهُ يَنْظُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ, because he sees with the nur of Allah. Allah helps him through that. So Imam Sahib said, as soon as he disclosed this secret to the men, he realized that perhaps I shouldn't have done this, because the men, he could see in his eyes the greed for that. As soon as Imam saw the men left the room, he came out. They were sitting on food. Once they finished the food, everyone was there. That individual started shouting, "Oh people, I lost my 1,000 gold coins. Someone stole my 1,000 gold coins." What happened? He started crying, wailing about that. So the managers, they had everyone there, said, nobody moves. Stay here. Everybody stay here. Nobody moves. Everybody stay here. Nobody move. And then they started checking. They sent someone down, and they came back and said, "We didn't find anyone having those gold coins. What are you talking about? No one has told you. You must be just making it up. You might have forgotten. You might have left it at home. Oh, okay, maybe." And then, all of a sudden the commotion is over. That night, when he came back to his cabin to sleep, he saw Imam was there. He said, "I know Imam." No, he didn't know Imam. He said, "You definitely had that 1,000 gold coins, because you can't lie. You're such a pious person. I haven't been seeing you. You've never lied to me, I know. You would never do that. You don't, because I know you, who you are. Like being together for some days, traveling together. Where are the gold coins?" He said, they are in the sea. The sea? He said, the minute I realized that you might do something funny, I threw them in the sea. Because if they found that gold coin in my possession, even if I could prove it subsequently, there would be this statement about me saying that that person had a blame of stealing once, and that would waste all my ahadith, because my status with regards to a rawi, a narrator, would be tainted, because there's a suspicion, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. So the adl part of the quality of a muhaddith, the narrator, the 5 things that would make a hadith a sahih hadith. What are they? Ittisalus sanad. There has to be the connectivity between the narrators. That part is fine. But there has to be this rawi, this narrator, he must be upright. He must be righteous. If he's blamed for a major sin like theft, he loses his credibility. The Imam said, shall I lose all the hadith that I have or my 1,000 gold coin? I decided that I would lose my dunya for my akhirah. Alhamdulillah. Now, look at someone who has that level of piety. Without this, you cannot achieve that. It is not about intelligence. It is not about being very clever. There are many people who are more clever than him, obviously. فَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, Allah says. Above every knowledgeable person, there is someone more knowledgeable. It's a piety that gives you that status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he spent all that money, whatever he earned, to people, one after the other, on deen, on learning and earning the knowledge and acquiring the knowledge, till he was just left with nothing. And as it says, he would spend his day on 1 or 2 almonds, just whole day, nothing else. Very simple, very humble. People would say things and he's not going to take any revenge from people. The piety, the taqwa, as I mentioned, amazing, amazing man. Very polite, very gentle, would forgive everyone. And you would see his teachers, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ali bin al-Madini, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Muhammad ibn Yusuf al-Firyabi, Muhammad ibn Yusuf al-Baykandi, Ishaq ibn Rahaway. Ishaq ibn Rahaway is the one who suggested one thing, that once he was sitting in the class and said, I wish one of my students or some of you would take up this role and gather all the sahih hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because prior to Imam Bukhari and prior to other imams of this time, the way was the people would compile the hadith because the knowledge was quite rampant. Everyone had some connection. Remember the tabi'een, they all had access to Sahaba. Like if you want to say something about this generation, how much do you know about AI? And everyone knows a lot of stuff about AI, about the new cars. In those days, the norm was that everyone knew about hadith. Any common man would attend the circles of hadith. There was no school people going to learn anything else. They would come to masjid to learn deen, Quran, Sunnah, some dedicated one, but the common people would have enough understanding of hadith. So the question, if you look at the questions are very deep, sensible. So for them to know a basic stuff is quite okay. So among them, the muhaddithun, when they started compiling, they would just put everything together, whatever they get from anyone, with the clear idea that, you know what, all my students, all the common people, my ulama, they're quite sensible, and they would just look at that. They would know automatically who am I talking about. For example, if I write a documentation where I highlight all the major statements of the political game that happened in the last 1.5 years about Palestine issue, just imagine that. If I started documenting them, oh, Netanyahu said this, Biden said this, and Muhammad bin Sulaiman said this, and so said that. All the political leaders' statement there. Would it be difficult for any one of us, little educated, sensible person, to know who am I talking about, who is good Ravi and who is bad Ravi, whose narration you're going to accept, whose statement you're going to reject? Is there any problem with that? I can only compile it. And you can just go and you would know who am I. People would just ignore, this is bad, that is. This was what it was, because they were all students of Sahaba and then Tabaeen student and Tabaeen students. You could imagine how much knowledge was there. That is why they did not pay attention to the authenticity of the narrator. They would just build it together. So Ishaq, then what happened? The new people started coming to Islam. Islam continues to spread. And then people were coming to become Muslim. And they would get confused, as they initially got confused with Quran during the time of Sahaba, Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu and his time. In the battles, Armenians and others, the Sahaba came, and others, they said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, take this into consideration. The Ummah is dividing on different way of recitation. They're fighting over this. So he sorted it out. Prior to that, it wasn't needed. We're just all in one together. Then it becomes an established way of writing as well, because it will confuse people subsequently. Likewise for the hadith. If we all put together as a brainstorm, encyclopedia, everything there. You have to take whatever you want to take. The scholar would do it. But then there was a need for this, because it was confusing for those people who did not know it, who did not have clarity, not deep knowledge, just came to Islam. So that is how Ibn Rahawayh, he said, if only, I'm so old now, he said, he's frail now. If one of my students, if one of you go and compile the Sahih Hadith, put them separate from the weak and the fabricated ones, and make it a nice collection. I wish one of you do this. And obviously, Imam didn't think of him because he was relatively junior age-wise to others. And no one would think that I'm the one who should take up this responsibility. Except that then he had a dream. He had a dream. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he saw his dream. That's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in his bed, lying in his bed, and flies are sitting on him. And Imam Sahib is making them run away. He is spreading them apart from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was very clear what this is referring to. But then he asked his teachers, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give you this opportunity to take the wrong things, fabricated and very weak things from the Sahih. And you would do that. Sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that became then the incentive for Imam Bukhari rahmatullah to compile the book. And he did, mashallah. Likewise, his students, 90,000 people he taught formally with ijaza, all of the hadith. And obviously many more, obviously they heard and listened to bits here, bits there, when he would travel to different places to talk. Muslim ibn Hajjaj, Imam Muslim, the famous Imam Muslim, that's him. Imam Tirmidhi, Abu Isa, Imam Nasai, Sahih Sitta, all three are Sahih Sitta. Imam Darimi, another one, Sunan Darimi, he's got big collection. Imam Marwazi, Abu Hatim al-Razi, Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Khuzaymah, the Sahib Musannaf. These are his students. I mean, every one of them are master in hadith of the top level. 3 from Sahih Sitta anyway, him being the 4th one. So only 2 goes, Ibn Majah and Abu Dawud. They were in different parts, that's why. And he has not just written this book, by the way, Sahih al-Bukhari, that's one book. He has written Tarikh al-Kabir, extensively about the history of the narrators. A lot of work done. Tarikh al-Saghir, the mild, and Awsat, the middle. 3 categories, 3 level stuff. Then Khalq Aflad al-Ibad, a lot of stuff. the weak narrators, short version. And the most important book of his is, other than Sahih Bukhari, is this, which is written for common people. Al-Adabul Mufrad. Al-Adabul Mufrad. This is the book that, unfortunately, people do not study. We're just supposed to study. This is written for common men. The manners of life, how everything should be done in proper order. People should just go through them. Very simple, easy book to read. And others as well. Then as you see people become jealous, if you do certain good work, people are not happy. Some people became jealous. One of the reasons out of many was this, that people wanted to come and learn from him. And when someone gets this popularity in knowledge and everything, people want to attach and associate themselves to them. Leaders of Muslims, the political leaders, always find this very attractive. There's someone who has got any status in the community, especially with regards to deen, especially in those days. The head of the state would want that person, the governor would want that person to be on their side. Because if he is on my side, he's not going to give any fatwa against me. I can twist his arm as and when, and he would ensure that no one rebel against me. So they would want these people to be on their side. So Imam Bukhari likewise, so the governor there, he said that, Bukhara's governor, Khalid ibn Ahmad, he said, you should come to my house and teach my children hadith, because you're Imam. Thinking that I'm honoring, obviously Imam Bukhari wouldn't go to the shuyukh, as to the leaders, as none of the leaders would do, because this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that you should not be the ulama of government. You can support them as and when needed, but if you become dependent on them through their stipend and through their help and whatnot, then that's a problem. This is why Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi did not accept the chief judge post. Chief judge. So we want you to be the judge of all the judges. Qadi al-Qudat. He declined and he said, you're disobeying me. Now that is my way of treating you. You'll be jailed. He was 70-year-old. He was flogged. He was flogged in jail for not accepting the post. The Imam was obviously Imam. Very clever, very sensible. In the majlis, he said, Imam, I think that you are the best person for this post and you must take this role. Imam said, I am not the best person for this and I don't deserve to be holding this post. He said, you are lying. So Imam said, if I am lying, I am not worthy of taking this role. A liar shouldn't be the chief of the justice. If I am honest and you think that I'm not a liar, then accept my suggestion that I am not worthy, if I'm honest. He said, I can't win argument with you, I know. So in the jail, go. And then he started hitting them. Got him to be flogged, and he died, according to some narration, in that prison. So Imam said, I give great respect to knowledge rather than to people, for it is they who are in need of the knowledge, and it is they who should seek it. Meaning that I am not coming to you. Yeah, if my son was to attend your madrasa, okay, is that what you're saying? Yes, you have to come to me, not that I should go to them. Then he would not sit with common, ordinary children, the governor said. So you would have to teach them separately, give them separate time. Imam said, I cannot stop any person coming and hearing hadith from me. So he became, obviously, okay, I will do some plan against you. Didn't say it, obviously, but this is what he meant. He got very angry with him. And he ordered him to leave Bukhara. And then Imam Sahib came from this place to Khartang, which is his original village where he was born and lived there. And then they became so unhappy after this incident. He was expelled from this place to this place, and there was a problem about him. This word, lafzi, I leave it, I wouldn't go through this. Lafzi bil Quran makhluq. They started charging him with some idea that you are, heretic. You say Quran is created being. Well, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, took upon him to defend the ummah for 18 months, getting the flog after flog, this mihna, and here you are accepting it, and you're saying the same thing. He didn't say it. His words were twisted and misunderstood and people made it a big thing, a lot of propaganda against him. So wherever he would go, they would chase him out. No, you heretic, out, out, out. In his lifetime, he was, moved and chased away from this place to this place, and unfortunately, he had to finally come back to this Khartang place in the house of one of his students, and he hid there. He couldn't go out because people were just after him. They were Muslim, supported him, but obviously 1% against so many other ulama. Some of them were jealous as well. There were so many things happened. The Imam stayed there and he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the night of Eid, Laylatul Ja'iza. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the earth has become so restricted and constrained that they do not accept me anywhere. I can't go from places where I've done this. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, faqbidni, take me to you. And at that time, there was exactly the same time, just about Fajr time, another Imams in a different part, I think in Egypt, he had a dream that he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr and Umar and other Sahaba waiting to welcome someone in Jannah. So he asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are you waiting for? He said, my Muhammad is coming to me. So he was welcomed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this dream. He made a note of that time and date. And when he had a chance to come back to this part from Egypt, he asked, what time and what was the day? And they said, this was the day. So, subhanAllah, I saw a dream about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he passed away the same night. This is Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayh, Friday, again, 1st September 870, 1st Shawwal, that was the Eid day, 256 after Hijrah. 196 he was born, 196, about that time. How many years he would be? About 60 years, less than that. And then history, so lunar wise, it could have been like in a lunar calendar. You've got extra after 30 years become 35 years become 10 years extra, 1 year extra. So might have been close to 63 years. Maybe he had 63, roughly 63 years, because in those days people would not get the exact date for their birth or their death. So it could be few days here and there. So I'm hopeful that inshallah ta'ala it would be. He got this sunnah of having 63 years, lunar years in this world. May Allah give him a lot of barakah and reward on behalf of all of us, the whole ummah, who has done this amazing work. This is his tomb there in Bukhara. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The praise that scholars made for him. Hafiz ibn Rajab, is Rajab actually. Rajab al-Hanbali rahmatullah alayhi said, he is one of the signs of Allah walking on the earth. He was. Abu Abdullah ibn Hamad al-Marwazi, he said, Muhammad ibn Ismail is the faqih, Islamic jurist of this ummah, faqih of the ummah. Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah, he said, I have never seen underneath the sky one who is more knowledgeable and memorizer of hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam than Muhammad ibn Ismail. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.